Since its debut in 1966, the Toyota Corolla Hybrid has sold over 50 million units worldwide. Now in 2022 alone, they sold 1.12 million vehicles, making the Corolla the highest selling vehicle for the 2022 model year worldwide. Now what makes this vehicle so special and what makes this vehicle sell so well? We're going to take a look at the 2023 model. This is the Toyota Corolla Hybrid all-wheel drive. We're going to see what this vehicle has to offer, see where it stacks up against some competition, and see if this vehicle as equipped is worth the $30,000 price tag. Starting in the front of the Corolla, we have a nice aggressive look on the hood with these body lines that come down on the driver and passenger side. A low brow line making this front end look very aggressive. We have this nice Toyota badge with that blue kind of haze to it, making you know this is the hybrid Toyota. Now we do have this nice gloss black piece here that connects these two headlights, and these are LED headlights redesigned for the SE, XSE, and the XLE trims. The LED headlights are standard, and we have LED DRLs as well. We have the sport mesh grille, and then below the mesh grille we have this nice body colored lower lip with these little fins in it, making it look really aggressive and making it look a lot more mean in the front end. Taking a look at the side of this SE Corolla, you can see some things that make the SE trim special. So we have color matched mirror caps here that are power adjustable, as well as having blind spot monitors in them. Down below we have these gray metallic side rockers here that run from the front tire all the way to the back. And then for this one, since this is all-wheel drive, this has the all-wheel drive emblem back here. Now in the back of the Corolla, what makes this SE Hybrid so special is on the SE trim, you get this color matched rear spoiler, this nice diffuser down below, this gloss black diffuser on the lower fascia of the rear end, as well as this dual chrome tip exhaust. It is a single exhaust from the front to the back, but right at the end, it is a dual tip. Under the hood of this SE Hybrid Corolla, you are going to find a 1.8 liter four-cylinder hybrid motor that produces 138 horsepower and 105 pound-feet of torque. This engine is paired to the CVT transmission with an all-wheel drive option. You can get this hybrid motor with front-wheel drive optioned, and that will get you 5 miles per gallon better than what this vehicle is rated for. This vehicle, or this Corolla as equipped, is rated at 47 miles per gallon combined, but again, you can get 5 miles per gallon better if you do get the hybrid with the front-wheel drive. There is a optional motor, but that is only for the front-wheel drive variant, and that is a 2-liter four-cylinder motor producing 169 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque. Now, if you want to go from the front-wheel drive hybrid to the all-wheel drive, it is going to set you back an extra $975. Now, in terms of overall comfortability, I am 6'1", legs torso proportionate, and I can get into a nice, comfortable position. And sometimes I feel like manual seats, sometimes I can get into a nicer position quicker, but we do have a manual tilting and telescoping wheel, manual slide forward and back, again, manual up and down, as well as manual tilt forward and back. So everything's manual, but I can get into a nice driving position where I do feel comfortable at my size. Again, like I mentioned, it has a nice bolster on the bottom as well on the seat back. So you do feel like you are held in there nicely if you do want to do some spirited driving. Now, in terms of where everything is in the interior, you have a lot of controls on the steering wheel itself. You have your audio controls over here, as well as your menu controls to control that little 4-inch LCD screen that's in the middle of the dash, as well as on the right side, track forward and back, as well as your cruise control and lane keep assist settings on the right side. Overall, the front seating area is pretty surprisingly comfortable for someone my size. I'm going to rate this a 7.5 out of 10. For what it is, it really does support me well, and I do find myself to be very comfortable driving this vehicle, even long distances. Now, jumping into the back seat, I thought this was going to be a lot smaller when I first got this car, and at 6'1", I usually don't fit into the rear seating area of these smaller compact cars. Now, in the rear, you're going to find 34.8 inches of legroom, which is a 76.8 total inches of legroom front and back. Now, I thought this was going to be a lot smaller, but this front seat is where I would have this seat positioned if I was driving the vehicle, and I probably have maybe like 4 to 5 inches of knee room from my knees to the back of the seat. Now, in terms of headroom, I do find that I could use a little bit more headroom. If I turn my head to the left, I'm pretty much forehead to handle here for this rear handle. And then if I go forward at all, my hair touches. So I just had to take my sunglasses off because the sunglasses on my head were rubbing on the top of the ceiling, or the top of the roof. In the rear trunk area, you have 13.1 cubic feet of storage. You have this nice cargo net that attaches to both sides, your driver and passenger side, and that is easily taken off, and then that just zips up into itself into a nice compact storage system. Moving that to the side, we have a nice rubber floor mat back here that is badged with the Corolla logo, and that goes all the way to those back seats, so if you put anything dirty back here, it will be protected. Lift this up, you do have a floorboard that lifts up, and you just have this styrofoam. You do not have a spare tire. You have a fix-a-flat, a tire pump, as well as your wheel lock back here. And underneath is a lot of electronics for your hybrid system that I would not mess with. Putting that back down, on the driver's side, you do have a Toyota first aid kit that comes with it. So you go and put that back, and that just Velcros to the felt sides of the trunk area. And then going all the way to the back seats, that is a 60/40 folding. So you can fold those down to access more storage. And then underneath, you can see some of your JBL speakers if you need to mess with those for any given reason. Had to pull the car inside. It's getting a little bit dark outside, so I just wanted to pull in here so you can see it a little bit better. Taking a better look at the interior, we have this nice padding on the armrest of the driver's compartment. We have this nice red stitching, and that red theme is carried on throughout the interior. Without moving past this, we have this nice Corolla kick plate here coming into the driver's area. Nice metal material, Corolla indicated right there. And then moving on up, we have the sports interior right here. We have these sport inserts that are this red perforated material. This red carries up into the seat back with a nice red line going up to the headrest itself. And that is also on the passenger side. And then that red is also carried on throughout the interior, like right here on this center armrest or this center console. Going ahead and opening up the center console, you go ahead and push it even farther back and it's gonna latch open. Otherwise, it'll close on you, but this is a fairly simple center console, very small. You definitely could not fit a half gallon of milk in here like some of the bigger SUVs, but this is a fair size for the size of vehicle. We have a USB-C charger here as well as a 12-volt cigarette lighter. On the passenger side, you can see that our seat belts are adjustable right here, up and down. And then we have that red stitching, like I mentioned, carried on throughout the passenger side. Driver's side door sill is the same way, padded armrest, kind of this rubberish material here, plastic the rest of the way. Little cup holder cubby area down on the bottom left, and that is the majority of your storage in your door. Your glove compartment is going to be fairly simple, just about big enough just for this massive manual that comes with this. In front of the cup holders, we have our gear selector here, park, reverse, neutral, drive. In front of the gear selector, we have our drive mode select here. So we have sport, normal, and eco. Then our EV only mode or EV mode. Turn that on up to 25 miles an hour, it'll go all electric. Just a little bit of a cubby up here where you can store your phone, your wallet, your keys, whatever it may be. There is no wireless charger in here, as well as no heated seat control. There is no lighting down there. There's no accent lighting, so it is a little bit tough to see sometimes. Moving up, that stitch, like I mentioned, that goes across diagonally across the whole dashboard. We have our HVAC controls here that are permanent. They are physical buttons as well as dials. They are not on a screen like some vehicles are. We do have our 8-inch multimedia display here from Toyota. This is their new infotainment system that comes in the Tundra, Tacoma, as well as the Sequoia, and also many different vehicles. Moving on over to our gauge cluster, we do have our LCD screen right there. It is a 4-inch LCD screen right on the center of our gauge cluster, and that is 4 inches standard for most trim levels. The XSE and the XLE do get a 7-inch option or a 7-inch standard screen that is a little bit bigger where you can view your information. Now on this, you can go ahead and scroll through using your steering wheel controls. You can go through some of your vehicle information, your trip distance, where your energy is being distributed on regen, tire pressures, as well as where your all-wheel drive system is at. Most of the time, your front wheels are going to be engaged until you start slipping, and then that rear drive unit will be engaged, and it'll show those bars on the rear wheels. Now scrolling over, we do have some basic stuff like controlling your Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, your lane departure assist, your blind spot monitor, pre-collision stopping, as well as your rear cross traffic alert. You can go ahead and turn all those on or off. All your settings, scrolling over, no messages. Your eco menu, go ahead and see how much miles per gallon, your miles per hour, your distance till empty, things of that nature, your adaptive cruise control, your music, as well as vehicle information like I mentioned. Up top, you can see that your adaptive cruise control or your follow distance, as well as everything will show up there in terms of your cruise control. Now mentioning about cruise control, we have our controls right here on the right side of our steering wheel. We have our cruise control set there, as well as our lane keep assist. And then we can control all our speed and up and down on our speed right there. On the left side, this is our menu controls for that LCD screen right there, as well as volume up and down and our voice command and track forward and back on the right side of the steering wheel. Now this is a leather wrap steering wheel, only leather piece in this vehicle. The rest of it's either cloth or some sort of rubberized material. Above your optional HomeLink mirror, you have your sunroof controls, which are right here, your open close, as well as your tilt up and down. You have your light controls. This is on right now, but if this was off, this nice accent light, if this were off, you'd press these buttons and it would turn your interior lights on. This right here, you pull this little plastic cage down and that is your SOS button if need be. Call Toyota Safety and things like that. To the right, we have our vanity mirror. Open that up, light comes on, and you can check yourself out. And that is on the passenger side as well as on the driver's side. Last but not least, you have your JBL speaker system right there, and that is indicated on this A-pillar. There is a little tweeter up top. There is no indication down below. There is no JBL logo down there, just up top, and then in that rear window where it says JBL, and you can see through that rear glass. So again, this has the $600 JBL 9-speaker sound system with the 800-watt amplifier, as well as a 10-inch subwoofer. At only 138 horsepower and 105 pound-feet of torque, the Corolla Hybrid all-wheel drive definitely doesn't wow you in the 0 to 60 department, but that's not really what this vehicle was made for, and we'll touch on that here in a little bit. Realistically, it's a fuel efficiency car that gets you from point A to point B with nice amenities inside for a relatively cheap price. So in terms of performance, my 0 to 60, I test this at 9.8 seconds. Online, people are saying that it's around 9 seconds. It is wet conditions today, and that's when I was testing it, but I didn't notice any wheel spin, ABS kicking in, nothing like that. So I don't really think it's gonna get much faster than that. But with that being said, still under 10 seconds really isn't too bad when you are looking at the grand scheme of things. You are getting a very fuel efficient car with decent amenities on the inside, comfortable driving, and we'll touch on that here in a second. But the performance-wise 0 to 60 really isn't what you're gonna be buying this vehicle for. And if you are gonna want a Corolla that has a nice 0 to 60, you're gonna wanna look at like the GR Corolla that just came out this last year. Now those are hard to find. I actually just had an allocation that I got rid of. The Circuit Edition was what I was getting, and plans changed, so I no longer am gonna get that. But if you were looking for a performance version of a Corolla, and you wanted a hatchback type vehicle, the GR Corolla is going to be for you. But in terms of performance, this hybrid is not going to be anything that's going to knock your socks off. Now, if you do want a more fuel efficient version, the GR Corolla is not going to be very efficient. But if you are looking for some more power and some faster 0 to 60, the standard 2-liter inline 4 that comes in the non-hybrid Corollas, that will get you a 0 to 60 around 9 seconds, 8.7 to 9 seconds is what I've been reading online. Don't have it with me, so I can't test it personally, but that will get you a little bit more performance-wise, but you are not going to get the efficiency of this hybrid system. Although the Corolla Hybrid all-wheel drive is not really made to be a 0 to 60 killer, one thing that is very important in vehicles is how well it stops. Safety-wise, just not really in a performance aspect, but realistically safety-wise, you want your vehicle to stop quick, stop safely, and stop in a straight line. Now the Corolla Hybrid all-wheel drive like we have here, I tested it today from 60 miles an hour to 0, and keep in mind this is wet conditions. I didn't notice any ABS kicking in while applying the brakes to come to a firm stop from 60 miles an hour, but I got a 60 to 0 distance of 148 feet. Not too bad. Online people are talking around 125 to 130, and in the wet conditions I can see where that could be a little bit of a change there. So 10 more feet for it being wet conditions, 148 feet is not too shabby. The pedal is firm. Sometimes in hybrid systems or electric vehicles, the brake can be a little bit touchy, and when you apply the brakes, there's like kind of a grabbiness right at the beginning. And I talk about that a lot in vehicles because that is one of my pet peeves. I like to drive smoothly and efficiently, and sometimes in vehicles that have really grabby brakes right at the beginning of the brake pedal, it can make it seem like you're driving aggressive or braking aggressive. And this is a very linear brake pedal. So when I was applying the brakes from 60 to 0, I didn't notice any sort of chatter in the pedal. Obviously the ABS was not kicking in, but it's a very linear feel coming to a firm stop. I didn't notice any darting back and forth when applying the brakes aggressively. So overall, brake pedal feel and brake performance is adequate in my opinion. Now, how does this Corolla handle on the road? When you are going through some twisties, and especially in conditions like this where it's wet, it's fall time, so there's leaves on the ground, it's wet, it's very, very slippery. We are on a sporty type tire. We're not on a winter or all season tire. This is going to really take advantage of the all-wheel drive system. Now, with that being said, this is a front-wheel drive biased vehicle. Now, the all-wheel drive system is not all-time all-wheel drive like an Audi Quattro or a BMW xDrive or anything like that, SH all-wheel drive from Acura. This is a electric motor on the rear axle. It is not connected by a drive shaft or transfer case or anything like that. It's not a mechanical all-wheel drive. This is an all-wheel drive, an electronic all-wheel drive. So you are gonna get wheel spin, and then that electric motor will kick in to save you when those front tires are spinning. You can really take advantage of this all-wheel drive in a straight line when, let's say, snow or wet conditions. When those front tires start spinning, that rear motor is going to kick in and save you. But in terms of cornering, like I just experienced back there on that hill, coming around the corner, the understeer is quite prevalent. So the understeer, you start sliding through the corner, just pushing through the front tires. You start applying the throttle, coming around a corner, and it doesn't go where you want it to. It kind of keeps going in a straight line, path of least resistance. So I do find that the front wheel drive bias platform on this is good for everyday driving, straight lines, highway driving. But if you're gonna wanna drive spiritedly on conditions like this, whether it be snowy, cold, wet, fall time with leaves on the ground, you are gonna notice that this is not gonna be as confidence inspiring as an actual mechanical all-wheel drive. Now, although this isn't a performance type vehicle and the handling isn't gonna be anything to write home about, it's not gonna compete with some other mechanical all-wheel drive systems in bad conditions, the ride quality is where this thing can shine. So when you are up at highway speeds on a decent road, the actual ride quality is fairly good. And what I mean by fairly good is that on a smooth road, this thing rides confidently, it feels heavy, it feels true, and it feels like it's tracking straight. But when you get onto a rough road, this does have the 18-inch rims, so you're gonna have a little bit thinner of a tire. So I do find that on rough roads, whether there's bumps or grooves or ruts in the road, I do find that it's a little bit loud in here and it's a little bit harsh. So when you hit a bump, you can kind of feel it reverberate through the cabin. Now, I think that's just due in part by the bigger rims, the thinner tires, and this is also just a sporty type vehicle and not really a luxury vehicle. If you wanted that, you go all the way up to the XLE. But ride quality is not too bad when you are up at highway speeds, 60, 70 miles an hour. And I do find it to be very comfortable with the adaptive cruise control and the Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 that comes standard on this. It's a very comfortable car. You can feel confident driving up at highway speeds. And you set the cruise control and forget about it, and it just cruises nicely. That CVT transmission comes down in the RPM and that hybrid all-wheel drive system. It gets you some great fuel efficiency when you are up at highway speeds. So on some rough roads, the back roads, it's gonna be a little bit more rough than I would personally like, but the trade-off is getting 18-inch beautiful rims with some thinner tires, so it looks nice and sporty. When you get onto some back roads that are a little bit more rough, whether there's ruts in the road, it's just pitted out, or there's potholes, you really start to notice that the cabin noise increases, and it's a little bit more than I would personally like. On some rougher roads out here by where I live, I did find that there's almost like a drone, kind of like a hum noise when you are going over rough roads, and I think that's just due in part by those 18-inch rims, lower profile tires, and maybe just not enough soundproofing. I'm not quite sure. But for my readings, for my decibel readings, my cabin noise, my ambient cabin noise, my max decibel reading was 65 decibels cruising at 50 miles per hour. The engine is relatively quiet when accelerating, and I think that's just due in part by the CVT. It's fairly smooth. There's not any gear shifts. There's no high revving RPMs. It relatively stays at 4,000 to 5,000 RPM when you are under full throttle. You got to take into account the fact that I am testing this all while it is wet out, so it's going to be a little bit louder than it would be if it was dry out, just because you have water on the road and it's going to be splashing up in from your tires into your splash guards and your wheel wells. So keep that in mind when looking at my ratings here. 0 to 60, braking and cabin noise are all going to be kind of affected by the wet roads. The big thing for this vehicle is going to be the fuel efficiency. The performance thing is not quite what it's made for, but the fuel efficiency is really where this thing shines, where the hybrid system really comes into its own. So for fuel efficiency, your combined miles per gallon rated by the EPA is 47 miles per gallon. 47 miles per gallon isn't anything to scoff at. I mean, if you are on the highway, it's going to be a little bit lower than 47, like strictly highway. But anything in the 40s, in my personal opinion, outside of an electric vehicle, is incredible. I mean, With only an 11-gallon tank, that'll take you 400 plus miles. You can't get more efficiency if you go to some different Toyota models or even some different vehicles in this market, but 47 miles per gallon is an incredible number. Not the greatest, but not the worst. So I'm gonna rate this fuel economy at a B. Now, the last thing I want to touch on is the speaker system in this. This does have an optional 9-speaker JBL system, has an 800-watt amplifier as well as a 10-inch subwoofer. And that is pretty cool because this is a fairly small car, so a 10-inch subwoofer, a dedicated 10-inch subwoofer, it really bangs. I mean, this thing really bumps real hard. It's almost a little too much in my opinion, because when you do crank up that subwoofer on your controls that are a little clunky in my opinion, I'll touch on that here in a second. When you crank that subwoofer up all the way, your rear mirror starts shaking, your side mirror starts shaking, and it kind of overwhelms the highs and the mids in the music. If you tone back the bass slider when you are adjusting your treble, your mids, as well as your bass, if you tone that back and just kind of keep it right in the middle, the overall balance of these speakers is awesome. I do find that this 9-speaker system is all you really need in a vehicle of this size. It is about a $600 option to get those speakers, and I think it's worth every single penny because it's going to be a little bit harder in these newer vehicles to upgrade your speakers down the line. Now, it might be more expensive, it's going to be a little bit harder. You might as well just get them right off the bat and just wrap it into your financing or into the purchase price. 600 bucks for a 9-speaker with an amplifier, a 10-inch subwoofer, and it being a name brand like JBL. I mean, it's a no question in my opinion if I was going to order this vehicle. So 600 bucks, JBL 9-speaker, 800-watt amplifier, as well as a 10-inch dedicated subwoofer. I think it's worth the money. Now, it can be a little bit overwhelming if you crank that bass up, bring it back down and kind of balance it out with the trebles and the mids, and you are going to find that it is a well-balanced sound system, and you aren't going to really want too much more as in terms of speakers in the Corolla Hybrid all-wheel drive. So let's touch on pricing real quick. So to get into a Corolla, the base trim non-hybrid is the LE trim, which is $22,795. And before I keep going, one thing I want to mention is all the pricing I am mentioning includes destination charges in them. So the LE is $22,795. The Hybrid XLE, which is the top dog trim in the hybrid platform, is $28,620 with the optional package selected. And then as equipped, our SE trim is $30,388. Now what makes our SE trim in the $30,000 range is the packages that are applied to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and read off some of the packages that are applied. So we have the SE Premium package, the Preferred Accessory package, JBL Audio, and then we have a couple of accessories, alloy wheel locks, as well as the frameless HomeLink mirror. So SE Premium pack, $1,220, Preferred Accessory pack, $631, and the JBL Audio is $600, and then a couple of odds and ends. And then to get from the front wheel drive to the hybrid, just pricing wise, it is a $1,350 premium to go from front wheel drive to all wheel drive. So with all those packages and accessories equipped to our vehicle, we are in that $30,000 price range. Starting off talking about the competition, the only other hybrid in this compact sedan segment is the Elantra Hybrid. There is two different trim levels to choose from. You have the Blue and the Limited. The Blue gets 54 miles per gallon combined, and the Limited gets 50 miles per gallon combined. The Blue starts at $25,665, and the Limited, with all the packages, there really is no packages to choose from, but as equipped with destination charges, $30,265. You get a 1.6 liter hybrid front wheel drive platform. You actually get a real transmission at a 6-speed dual clutch transmission at that, not a CVT. You get heated seats as standard, and you also get 80.3 inches of legroom combined. Another compact sedan that is a non-hybrid that is a main competitor for the Corolla is the 2023 Honda Civic. The Honda Civic has a couple different trim levels to choose from, but the base is the LX and the top trim is the Touring. The LX is starting at $24,845, and the Touring fully equipped is $33,267. That is only front wheel drive, and they do not have a hybrid system to choose from. So take that for what it is. You don't get all wheel drive and you do not get hybrid. So for the LX, you are getting 158 horsepower, and for the Touring, you're getting up to 180 horsepower. Both have CVTs, both are front wheel drive. The Touring does have leather trimmed interior, but that base LX does have cloth seats as well. Now, one of the main competitors that I want to talk about is the 2023 Prius, the Toyota Prius. Now, that is in the same family. It is not the same classification, but it is also a hybrid platform. You get more horsepower, more miles per gallon. It is a little bit more money, but overall you do get a little bit better performance out of the packages. So starting off, you have the base trim, which is the LE. It comes in a front wheel drive and all wheel drive. Its all wheel drive platform starts at $29,945, so quite a bit more than the Corolla itself. But you also have the Limited, which is the top trim, and that comes in front wheel drive as well as all wheel drive. Now for the LE, you can get 57 or 54 miles per gallon combined, depending on whether you go front wheel drive or all wheel drive. And then for the Limited, you can get up to 52 miles per gallon or 49 miles per gallon for the all wheel drive platform. It's 196 horsepower. It's a 2-liter hybrid powertrain system. You get heated and ventilated front seats with that Limited trim level. You get Soft-Tech trim seats, as well as your all-wheel drive system that you find in the Corolla like we have today. Now, if you want to go for something a little more premium, maybe that Prius is something for you. You do get leather trim seats or Soft-Tech trim seats. You get heated and ventilated seats, and also you get more performance and more bang for your buck, in my opinion. It is quite a bit more money than the vehicle that we have here today, but if you're going long term, you get more miles per gallon. You also get a little bit more performance. There's a lot being thrown at you, I know that, so drop some comments down below and let me know what you think. There is a lot going on in this sedan segment. Some people are saying that sedans are going away because SUVs are taking over, but I think there is a market for a high miles per gallon hybrid system that is gonna just get you from point A to point B the most efficient as possible. So let me know what you think down below. What vehicle do you like the most? Do you like the Corolla, the Hyundai Elantra? Do you like the Honda Civic the most? Or actually, let's throw a random one in there. Do you like the Toyota Prius the best compared to those vehicles? Thanks for watching my video. My name is Nick with Auto Buyer's Guide, and until my next review, I will see you guys then.